Welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Ben Slinger. With me, as always, is Trevor Scott.
Yes, I am.
You're here. I'm here. Let's click pitch. Do you want to tell the fine folks at home listening to number 128 of Bitstorm what Click Pitch is all about?
Click Pitch is a game. We each have a random word generator in front of us. On the count of 3, 2, 1, we're going to click refresh, get ourselves a word, tell them to each other, make a game design idea based off those two words.
I think a better challenge would be that we don't tell them to each other. We just have to guess.
We have to mime them to each other.
Yeah, we're not in the same room, so that will prove difficult. Sorry,
we
I
don't even
interrupted.
have the camera on or anything like that. Anyway, when the idea doesn't work, we throw it away and start all over again.
Yeah, let's do it.
3, 2, 1, click. Western.
Parallel.
For some reason, my head keeps on going to something that we've done before. But when I hear the word parallel, I think what's parallel in a Western setting, but train lines,
tracks.
like the two metal tracks of a train are parallel lines.
Yes. I mean, we could definitely just jump off the Western theme, and that gives us a very broad vista, a mesa, if you will, to play around with. Like, what sort of, obviously we've got the Red Dead Redemptions, we've got what's the other one? Doesn't matter. Western games, I don't know. It's not a particularly common setting.
No, it isn't really, is it?
When it comes to games. So I don't know what new and refreshing could we do with a Western?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a game set in the Firefly universe.
Okay. Yes, that they definitely took a lot of those Western tropes into space.
Yeah. What I really liked about that was taking the fact that it was a Western, but taking it futuristic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we've done a Firefly game. No. That could be interesting. So, I think the more interesting way to go with this is that you pilot a ship within the Firefly universe.
Yeah.
Wait, I think maybe we have done it. Anyway, we'll do it again. You pilot a ship within the Firefly universe, and rather than obviously taking control of the characters themselves from the TV series Firefly, I'm sure we could get Nathan Fillion on board, but I don't want to deal with fucking Adam Baldwin.
Yeah, I think you said that last time too.
Yeah, probably.
No, what I like is where it sort of starts is, it starts in like a bar.
Yeah.
And your character's just sort of finishing up a drink, and a bar fight starts up and all this sort of stuff. And it's sort of like the very start of, I think the first episode that went to air was like the train job. Yeah. And so
where
Serenity
comes and like saves them after the bar fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They punch someone, they get into this massive fight, someone goes flying out the window, but the window doesn't break because it's like a hologrammatic window and all this sort of stuff. And it just sort of...
That's like your first sign. Yeah, I like the idea of taking that scene as like kind of an homage to that scene starting off the game.
But what I like is that maybe it's the characters from Serenity that you see in this fight. You just happen to be one of the people that was in the fight as well.
All right. Well, let's think about what this game is, because I mean, because it lends itself to narrative well. You and I often go to a sort of third person action adventure type of thing. But my mind actually for a moment went to, what if this was kind of like a top down tactical-esque kind of game?
Okay.
A bit XCOM-y almost.
Not quite where my mind was going, but
well, look, it doesn't necessarily have to be top down, like even, but take it turn based and a bit more tactical. Because I feel like a tactical game in the world of Firefly could be really interesting, both because you've got combat on planets, but also you could then take the similar tactical sort of thing to space battles.
Okay, so your character, are they smugglers?
Sure, yeah,
that's what I'm kind of seeing them as. They're just like the Serenity crew. They're like, except they got beaten to the punch on this particular job, so they didn't actually win out on the train job. So now they've got to try and find something else that they need. They can basically get some more cargo and then head off on.
I definitely like the idea of taking that scene from Firefly and using that as a kicking off sort of branching point for this alternate crew of smugglers. And then you get to use a lot of the same themes without having to be stuck with the actual Firefly story, the Serenity story.
So I'm certainly seeing that, you got to sort of plan out your smuggling jobs.
That's why I think the tactical side of it is interesting, because then it is a bit more of like, we're taking, there's something valuable on a ship that's parked, that's parked in the landing bay of this particular hotel. And so it's infiltrate the landing bay, go to the ship. It's like, okay, you put this person at the back door of the ship, put this person at the front door of the ship, and set them to like kick the doors open simultaneously. Like, so you've got some sort of kind of control over your tactics that you're actually employing to finish the job.
I'm just wondering if there's a way of sort of taking kind of like what, if you remember Knights of the Old Republic.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the rules behind that was like D20 based.
Yeah.
So using, like, it's still, a lot of the combat is actually turn based, but it's actually, it looks real time. Because, someone's, going ahead and actually attacking. You can change your tactics as you're going, but it's all based on sort of like you're attacking, then they're attacking, then you're attacking, they're attacking.
Yeah. So it's kind of not, you don't necessarily have control of end my turn now and then they take their turn.
You can set up your next 5 moves or whatever in that game.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. It's almost initiative based then on who
went first,
who goes next. Yeah.
Like it's all behind the scenes. You're not seeing it as such. I kind of like that because my thoughts on turn-based. I don't like the full thing like that. Whereas I love, Knights of the Old Republic and the way that they actually did that whole D20 idea behind the scenes was amazing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, there is a Firefly tabletop role-playing game as well. So you could potentially use some of those rules, although I think a lot of those were more about role-playing than combat.
Yeah, that's usually the way, isn't it?
Yeah, well, look, there is definitely a trend towards more role-playing heavy games, I think, than kind of mechanic number heavy games, but I might be wrong.
I've got to say, I reckon the
tabletop games.
I reckon the reason why I've got D20s in my head at the moment is because we're actually playing in a D&D game at the moment.
We are. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I really like the nitty gritty of the rolling the dice. So to have that sort of same rules in the background that you're only hitting if you're getting above their AC sort of thing.
Yeah.
But hidden behind some other rules.
Yeah, well, it's always interesting how much you actually expose of those rules.
Yeah.
Because I think there is a balance there. If you completely hide them, then people are going to be like, "Why the fuck did I just miss?" But if you make it too obvious, then you're just seeing numbers all over the screen, and that's boring. So, But yeah, that's cool. So, are you thinking then? Is this still party based? Like, are you able to switch between your characters during combat?
I'm thinking it's very, very much based almost off the whole Knights of the Old Republic party base, but maybe a few more people than the 3 that you could have in that. I do kind of like the idea
4 or
of
5.
being able to take a 4 or 5 party out.
Yeah.
Your main character is the one who's doing all the talking between places, a la your Mass Effect and that sort of stuff. But you're also the people that you bring along with, they can interject into the conversation and produce other parts of dialogue that you may not have got if you brought along someone else.
Yeah.
which is very Mass Effect. It's very
yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's basically BioWare is effectively what it is.
I mean, BioWare doing well. I don't know about BioWare these days, but
old BioWare
in their prime doing a Firefly game would be fucking awesome.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that, we just steal that entire way of doing things. I just think for the talking, the combat, and the party, it sort of works.
Yeah.
As for controlling your characters normally, I'm not sure whether the third person is right for this sort of game. I think you may have actually been right with the top down sort of idea that you're sort of moving the party a la your sort of
like Wasteland or something.
Wasteland or Diablo or something like that, where you sort of just you're able to see what's sort of around and you get a little bit more of a view as to what's actually happening.
I think during combat you get a nice little camera pan down and a good little 2 or 3 shot of the people involved in any particular incident or move, and you get some nice cinematic stuff happening.
You can put like little tactics in, kind of like hide behind this particular area. And one of the things that I'm pretty sure you could actually do in Knights of the Old Republic is actually almost like your Fallout 4 VATS sort of thing, where you can sort of slow down the action.
I think you could actually pause, couldn't you? Like you pause, set up your next set of actions or whatever, and then unpause and let them play out. Yeah, I was going to say, I think that makes sense.
Or you can do it in like continuous motion, that that you're setting up the next motion as you're going.
But I think you often end up flipping back and forth, like whoever you're sort of mainly controlling. You may be doing them in real time, but you pause. Every now and then to switch to your other party members and make sure they're, doing their thing, or to move one over there to flank or whatever, Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, just being able to fiddle around with those sort of things, I think.
Yeah. So basically, we spent 10 minutes, 10 minutes when all we needed to say is BioWare make a Firefly game. 3, 2, 1, click.
Fair enough.
Teenage.
Atom.
Oh, okay. Is this a superhero game? Or is this like a high school science fair or something where someone like
wants to split the atom for
I was
going
to say like Jeremy, because we always go with Jeremy. Jeremy's always there. He brings in his vinegar and baking soda volcano, and Belinda has some potatoes that she's looked at. And then Jessica has her nuclear reactor, which is fully functioning, and they have to evacuate the school because the Geiger counters, which for some reason they have in this school, are going off.
What I'm picturing is, for some reason, Jessica has actually solved the riddle of cold fusion.
Ooh, even better. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. That's an interesting narrative kicking off point. Is that the start of the game, or is there a lead up to that?
I think it's one of those things where it starts off at the science fair, and it's going down the line of seeing what all the people's science experiments were, and then when they see Jessica's, that's when it sort of kicks back to a couple of days earlier and how she sort of worked out how to actually do this.
Okay, well, let's figure that out. Is this? Well, I mean, let's maybe think about what sort of game this would be. In a narrative sense, I mean, point and click makes sense. We often do that. Are you playing as Jessica, I guess? Maybe switch between a few different characters? Like a teacher?
I'm just wondering whether you're playing another character that is kind of like a muse to Jessica.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's going to come down to how she learned to do this. Like, is it literally just that she's a genius and she figured this out? I think either way, she's obviously incredibly intelligent, but is this a case where there's some sort of like alien intervention or something and they've chosen her to introduce? Like, it's like a case of an alien species breaking the Prime Directive.
Well, I do quite like that idea. I think your character you're sort of like the best friend of Jessica, and you've been there for years, but you turn out to, like, one of the twists midway through the game is that, you're actually an extraterrestrial who's there to guide Jessica in the
And you haven't actually been there for years. You've just been here for this episode of whatever Star Trek-ish show this is, and you implanted memories in her head to make her think you'd been there for years.
Yeah. But like that Rick and Morty episode where you had those memory bugs that, it was all happy memories.
It's all happy memories, yeah.
And only happy memories.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. How do you do that reveal? I like this as a point and click, I guess. Do we go 2D or 3D on a point and click like this?
I know. I kind of like the ease of the 2D. Having played, like Dark Side Detective.
Yeah.
Where that was pure 2D.
Yep.
Where, it was more about here are individual rooms that you're sort of going through.
Very, very much classic point and click style. A single room with hand drawn background art and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but I do like the idea of not really being able to move around the scene. Like, a lot of the time, I don't actually think moving around the scene is actually needed. They certainly did that back in the day with the Sierra and LucasArts and all that sort of stuff. But having played Dark Side Detective, it's really, you didn't need to actually move around. Just the character moving from each screen to each screen.
I mean, I think that's a limitation you can certainly give yourself. It does. It does semi-limit the puzzles you can have in a sort of, in that, like, you can't have a scene where, I mean, for one, where movement is part of the puzzle, or where, there's a section of the scene that you can't get into yet. Access. Like, it just takes a bit more explaining to say, like, oh, you can't interact with that because it's on the other side of this fence or whatever. But yeah, look, that would come down to the writing, I think, in the puzzles and what was required.
And given that it's us, it'll be shit writing.
Yeah, we know. One day we'll actually write an adventure game and get some practice in.
And prove all our haters wrong.
Yeah, all those haters out there. We're just constantly getting hate messages. I don't understand. We don't even have that many listeners. Where do they come from? Anyway, back to the game. This is a tangential episode, I feel like. All right, so what's the kind of arc? We've got Jessica at the science fair. It goes back to a few days or a few weeks earlier, and it's her and her friend
are discussing the science fair.
Her friend, I don't know how she didn't figure out he was an alien. No. What's her friend's name?
Jeremy too. I don't know.
Jeremy
David.
F. Because there are two Jeremys in the class, so it's Jeremy F and Jeremy Q.
P.
Jeremy Element of P. So her and Jeremy discussing it, and like, so is she trying to create cold fusion, or is it an accident that he obviously pushes her towards?
Well, I think when you see her first attempt of a science fair project, it's pretty much what typical scientists typical teenagers do at these science fairs, where it's some sort of potato battery or photosynthesis. How does it work? Or so it's something that's not too all right. Well, I like the idea though of a puzzle at the beginning that is transforming that typical science fair exhibit into cold fusion. Yeah. So maybe it is. I think a potato battery is good because she'd already have something that's like measuring the output of, the current created by it or something. And so you have a puzzle where, basically you turn this potato battery into a self-sustaining fusion core, with not needing containment fields or any special. I'm just imagining that, her dad or something comes home and he's got like a little bit of nuclear waste on his coat, and when he takes off the coat, it drips down onto like onto the wood upstairs, and that in turn gradually seeps through and drips down into the basement where her potato is actually.
Oh, so you're saying it's a full-on like accident? Because isn't the whole thing that the alien best friend is somehow making this happen? Like I think he has to.
I think what the whole thing is that the alien best friend happens to move the coat just slightly or something like that. It's basically trying to create this an accident.
Right. Yeah. It's a tough puzzle because
it's a nonsensical puzzle.
Yeah. Well, because if you're not trying to create cold fusion, like maybe it just comes around. It could be around like increasing the efficiency of this potato battery and I don't know, getting hints as to different ingredients that you add to it, and every time you do that, it like becomes slightly more efficient until it's eventually like 150% efficient. It's like, oh my god, we're creating energy, or something like that. But
the potato battery is definitely one of those things that like we never really got to do that.
No,
Seems
we
to be
didn't have
very
that
American thing.
Yeah, we didn't have that kind of science fair-ish kind of thing going on, but
it's a shame because it would have been fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm starting to think, do we actually go back to the original idea that the alien friend is actually just giving you ideas as to what you can try?
Yeah, well, I guess that comes because the problem is if you're playing the alien friend, how do you not give that twist away to the audience and still have them be the one who kind of prompted it?
Be the muse, yeah.
It could be that they fake it and like they get they find something on the internet or I don't know, which you then explain later was actually he downloaded it from his spaceship that's in orbit or something.
I'm just imagining now. Add some water to this, and add this this lithium plutonium.
Take the lithium ion battery out of your phone. And put it in a solution of, salt water,
plutonium, uranium, and salt.
Well, no, I think it just comes down to simple. Yeah, I think it comes down to simple ingredients. Like it's, I don't think you need plutonium or whatever. I think it just comes down to you create a particular sort of, state within your potato.
Well, I'm starting to think whether the alien sort of goes, oh, you know what I just thought? Like getting some radioactive material, and you start thinking about where you could actually get some radioactive material, and then you hear a smoke alarm going off. Right. And the smoke alarms actually have like minute amounts of radioactive material. So the idea that, you actually use the smoke alarm, that is something that's pretty much in everyone's house. Yeah. And be able to use basically everyday household objects to create this cold fusion battery. Yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah. Anyway, we're not doing a adventure game design done quick here, so we won't go through every single puzzle, but
every puzzle.
I like that setup, and I like the twist of it. Yeah, being a sort of Star Trek-ish, which they're here to solve a problem and blend in, but then they end up breaking their prime directive to make contact and end up pushing this world into fucking warp travel or whatever.
Well, what if it was like the alien Jeremy is actually like, yes, technically an alien because he wasn't born on Earth, but he is still human just from the future.
Okay, so it's like a Star Trek 4 situation.
Yeah. So Jeremy from the future has come back, and to power his ship to get back to the future, he needs to set in motion something that Jessica herself was going to work out eventually, and in turn,
that's cool.
He's just pushed it forward a couple of years.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's a good reveal too. And then the second half of the game is about her helping him get back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'd play that. Yeah. I'd play the shit out of that. All right, 3, 2, 1, click. Attack.
Purple.
The purple attack is upon us. Purple nurple.
No, I was thinking what's the Purple People Eater song?
Oh, right. The one-eyed blah blah purple.
One-eyed, one-horn, flying purple people eater.
That's the one. A game of that.
Yeah, I'm kind of liking the idea that it's a alien attack, and
they're all one-eyed,
sort of
one-horned, flying purple people eaters.
What I'm thinking is it's like the origin of that song.
Right.
Like, it's set in like the 50s or something like that, and effectively like these aliens that come to Earth to decimate the Earth's population.
Uh-huh.
They can't be held in people's memory.
Okay.
But by creating this song, people were able to actually sort of fight back.
Okay, that's interesting. So an alien race attacks, and one of their methods of attacking is that they basically have a passive mind wipe. Like, it's not even something they do intentionally. It's kind of just part of their anatomy. And the way that they affect human brains is that people can't remember them.
Yep.
And so is this going to explain why this song was even popular at all? Because all these people like relate to it in a way that they can't quite understand.
I think maybe your main character happens to be the original creator of that song.
Sheb Wooley. I have the Wikipedia page open.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
That's actually the guy's name.
So I'm picturing that he's got some sort of like defect in his brain in which the mind wipe doesn't actually work on him.
Oh my god. Sheb Wooley is the guy who did the Wilhelm scream. That's amazing.
That's awesome for the final thing in this.
the final scene.
And
that's awesome.
So I think that's what explains as to why your character can actually fight all these flying purple people eater aliens.
So the name of the game is like Sheb Wooley and the flying purple people eaters or something. Like, you play Sheb Wooley, which is a fucking awesome name already. And how does the game? So what's the gameplay then?
Well, I'm
seeing
it as like a first person shooter sort of thing, except all the people that are in the environment. Anytime that they look at these things, they're super, super scared. But then the second that they look away,
go around the corner, they're like calm again.
They return to normal. So they turn to run away, and they just forget, and then they get eaten straight away. Sort of thing.
All right. Well, I'm almost thinking this isn't a first person shooter. I'm wondering if we can go a bit more arcadey with this. And obviously there's still that backstory and story in between, but this almost feels like it could go kind of a retro arcade-ish sort of game where it's about shooting these aliens, and keeping the people safe because, if they're not looking at the aliens or if they don't have line of sight to them or something, they don't run from them. So it could almost be, like a quite simple mechanic where you just have a level with buildings or walls or whatever in different places, and you need to, I don't know whether you are herding people or you're just having to kill monsters before, like, kill the purple people eaters before they get to the people, and it's about, how many people you save or something. But, that could be, you could keep it pretty simple.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to think. I think the first verse of the song is actually talking about like this cute little alien that he sort of finds, and then it turns out that it's a flying purple people eater, and that's when like shit turns sour. So I'm liking the idea that he sort of finds this purple alien in his backyard. He takes it inside and cares for it, and then like he works out that it eats people.
Well, I don't think we'll go this way because it'll complicate things too much, but apparently there's some ambiguity around whether the people eater itself is purple or whether it's something that eats purple people.
Yeah.
Maybe it can be both. Maybe you really have to save the purple people.
But it's when you're wearing these special goggles that you actually see
points.
certain people or have got like a purple aura or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to annoy you a little bit.
Okay. You're going to sing it.
Because I've kind of stolen this idea of the alien not being able to be remembered from a certain other show.
Oh, okay. Is it Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Yes, it's Doctor Who. Yeah.
So for those people out there going, Trev, you just stole it from the silence. Yes, I did. And I'm happy to say that we came up with a pretty cool idea for a game.
Yeah,
and the fact that, you're going to finish off the entire thing with like the origin of the Wilhelm scream as well. So
that is pretty awesome.
Sheb Wooley is awesome.
All right. 3, 2, 1, click. Environment.
Infinity.
The infinity environment. It's just Minecraft, isn't it? It's Minecraft, but not made by a total douchebag.
Actually, Minecraft isn't infinite. It does have a limit.
Okay. Infinite environment.
This kind of reminds me, going back to one of our first lot of guests, in which you could, build the tree and influence the tree. I can't remember.
Evergreen.
Yes. Yep. So I'm sort of thinking about like taking this to like a almost the same sort of place, except it's more about the environment itself. You're sort of playing Mother Nature as it were.
Okay.
And the whole idea is you can set off some environmental sort of
changes
and things like that. You see as you're going, you see different like dinosaurs and stuff go through, and then you're basically going through the millions of years. But you're talking about the whole ecosystem, not just one sort of plant. You're actually sort of talking more about what little things you can do to influence the way the environment sort of works.
So it's Sim Earth 2. Look, I think you could do some interesting stuff with that. It would be incredibly complex to manage. We could take some ideas of that. So where my mind went when you started talking about Evergreen, and this is a game where you grow a tree and you can pull grow branches off it in certain directions and do different things to suck up water and whatever. But I had the idea that what would be interesting is if you were growing a tree in that sort of fashion, but that it was about the inhabitants of the tree. So it's almost I was almost getting a real-time strategy-ish vibe, but I don't think it has to be that. But you are basically, the image I'm getting is it's like, okay, I'm going to grow a branch off this direction. It's not quite as fast as in Evergreen. I think you sort of get a bit of a time lapse of it. But as these branches grow off, you get like buildings and rope ladders between them and pathways. Like it's almost like an Ewok village up in this tree that you're kind of you're driving the direction that this tree is growing, but that creates you do that strategically to build up this kind of civilization that lives in this tree. Now, whether you do that over time and still bring in some of that kind of bigger climate level environment stuff, I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of focusing on this little civilization of whatever they are, tree folk.
Yeah, so I mean, the sort of things that I was thinking that you could definitely bring into play is, sort of, if you only had control over certain things. So like basically you had control over like the wind, rainfall, and I don't know, maybe you can have some powers to do some like earthquakes or something like that. To basically, you don't have much control, but you can literally shake some things up. Yeah. That what I did like about that was that you had to try and influence which way things would actually go by making minute adjustments to to sort of like, if you put too much rainfall in one place, then you can actually totally destroy other places because you've only been focusing on this one area, and there's only so much that can actually go around.
Yeah, well, look, we could sort of combine those in a way where maybe we bring the focus down a bit from, like, still up from a single tree.
Yep. To maybe a forest.
To like a forest, yeah. And maybe it's around, again, a little bit of both. So perhaps every season you have some way to influence the weather. Like maybe these tree folk can do like weather dances, right? Like they pray to their gods for certain weather patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of get to see that play out, and you get to see how it affects this forest. And it could even be that there are sort of multiple factions within the forest, and each of them get to do their little tree dance or their little weather dance to alter it in some way. But you know, there's going to be tension between them for who gets rain or who gets sun or you know, who gets to freeze over winter and that sort of thing. So there is this
which tribe turns cannibalistic. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that could be part of it for sure. Almost a bit of, so I'm getting a bit of a Frostpunk vibe where it's kind of this survival thing over a fairly long period of time. Well, I mean, Frostpunk's not over that long, but it's your civilization. It's the decisions you make about this tribe of tree folk. And it's very much about survival and tough decisions.
What I do kind of like is like in the last third of the game, that's when, you know, white man comes through and starts destroying your forest.
Chopping down trees. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I like that. That could be an interesting way to bring some, like a political, interesting environmental message into it for sure. And then it does, that's just sort of, that's one of the factors then of survival, that you have to bring into your decision making.
Yeah. In the blink of an eye, your entire forest is totally decimated.
Yeah. I guess if you're doing like a time lapse thing, it's just going to be gone.
Before you even notice, it's like, yep. All those tribes, including the cannibalistic one, all gone.
Well, and it could just be that that's a late game factor where, because one of the sorts of decisions you could make is sort of where to build or like where to focus your population. Mm-hmm. And so part of it could be, you know, you start to see sections of forest disappear, like you need to move your population deeper into the forest. And maybe you're building up defenses just by creating particular types of trees or the density of the trees or something that's going to take longer for them to get to you, and you're going to survive for longer. And yeah, maybe you can eventually build up different defenses where you can literally fight them off. I don't know, but
I really like that idea that the Game Dev Tycoon guys did for like the pirated game.
Uh-huh. So if you pirate this game, the
white man always wipes you out no matter what you do. The thing is, it's only the last third of the game, so you're playing through all this game, and no matter what you do, you can't win fucked.
It. Yeah.
I just really like that idea. You know,
I mean, it's very accurate because white people always fuck up the environment in the last third of the game. Sorry, that was a real ham-fisted, like, climate change thing.
3, 2, 1, click.
Yeah. Mum.
Container.
A mum container. Yeah, look, I instantly got the idea of some sort of robotic mail-order mum that comes in a box for, like, people who need someone to take care of them. I don't know.
I started thinking about what other versions of mum can you actually have. And
well, I mean, it could be keeping
the
mum.
whole keeping mum of keeping a secret, a secret about what's in this container.
Well, you could just even go down the line of containing information is keeping a secret. There are certainly some interesting mechanics and dynamics you could have around knowledge sharing in a game system.
Okay. There's a Netflix show that I've really, really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Santa Clarita Diet.
Yes. this is a common thread on our show, but it is a very good show.
I'm just wondering whether there's a way that you could actually have like this, almost like a Sims-like game, in which the secret that you've got to try and keep is that the mum is actually a zombie. Okay. Yeah, I like this. So you've sort of got this small town with a population of simulated people. Yes.
With maybe, relatively straightforward kind of day-to-day routines.
Yeah, I love The Sims.
Yeah. And so the challenge is that do you play as this family or as the mum?
You play as the family, like you do sort of in The Sims. You know that you control a whole family.
Yeah.
The mum has certain needs that must be met.
Yes.
I.e., like she needs
eating
to eat
human flesh.
Yep. And obviously, if you're really shit at it, then
people will find out.
If you do the typical thing that I used to like doing in The Sims, which was invite everyone over, pull them into a room, delete the door, and then they just die of starvation. Or you drop them into the pool and then you delete the ladder. So in
this, it's you put them all in a room with the mum and delete the door.
But if you do that, and people know that there was a message on the answering machine that you were going over to visit Sarah.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to come
an investigation and
yeah.
Okay, so you're kind of going very Sims-like with it, even down to the interface and stuff. In that you are managing this family.
Yeah, I'm liking the idea that it's kind of like The Sims without the building aspect.
Okay,
that you're sort of managing the life rather than building the house and
it's the sim mode rather than the build mode of The Sims. And so it's day to day. They get hungry. They need to piss. They need to eat human flesh. They need to go to school.
They need to commit murder.
Yeah. I mean, exactly.
They need to investigate.
Is there an aspect then of finding your victim?
Yeah. And I think that's certainly something that, can be kind of a bit confronting at first. Especially because, if the mum eats too many household pets, then she goes a bit feral.
You're less able to control herself around humans, and she might just snap and eat one.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that she needs to eat brains to try and keep the human aspect.
Oh, so a bit of iZombie in there too.
Yeah, a bit of iZombie.
Yeah.
My wife and I have been watching iZombie on your recommendation, and
it's very good. I'm waiting for season 5 to finish so we can binge it.
Yeah.
Okay, so how would the investigation work? Is that just kind of, do we abstract that away to just, as long as one person in the family spends time on the investigation task, like you get better targets or something, or is it more in depth than that? Do you have to start getting to know who lives where in the town and their behaviours and which ones are Nazis?
Yeah, I do like the idea of you having to sort of get out there and, maybe as a stopgap you can befriend the local, what's it called? Like, medical examiner to get some fresh brains and stuff. But for the most part, you're going to want to actually get a fresh supply because your wife can only survive so long on,
frozen or decomposed.
Refrigerated / partially decomposed. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess
I really like this idea of just, seeing the mum go absolutely psycho if you neglect her, needs and that sort of stuff.
I'm just picturing, how in The Sims when they get in a fight and it's just like the kind of the dust cloud and you see, it's a very cartoony dust cloud and you see the head poke out and get pulled back in and that sort of thing. It's that, but like blood everywhere. So you just sort of, you see the dust cloud, but you just get these big spurts of blood that find their way and coat the walls of wherever it's happening. And then when the dust settles, there's a dead half-eaten corpse that you then have to pick up and put in a freezer. So, now you've got a supply for a while.
I'm just picturing that, the husband and daughter are out, checking into these Nazis, and, like the postman comes to the door, and the mum just sort of invites the postman in, and it's like, oh shit, and you've sort of lost control over the mum because her eyes have gone red, and she's seeing the bloodlust.
The thing is, I'm also picturing it all in Simlish.
In what?
In Simlish, like the Sim language.
Yeah.
So they invited me in, it's a tutupo. How do
just painted the whole living room in blood.
Yeah.
The husband comes home and it's like, oh, fuck.
Well, the husband comes home and it's just, we better start cleaning. My mood is low. I've had to clean up another fucking murder scene.
So yeah, I think combining a few of those zombie things together with the Sims, I think is a gold mine for.
I think a gory zombie Sims is a good way to go for sure.
Yep.
Cool. 3, 2, 1, click.
Yep. Failing.
Kiss. I mean, the problem is if you fail to kiss someone, generally it's because they haven't consented to be kissed, and I don't really want to go down that route.
No.
Is this a speaking simulator-esque game where you are controlling the tongue of someone kissing somebody else?
No, that exists.
Yeah.
Okay. Failing and kiss. So the kiss that failed was the kiss of life.
Oh, I was going to go, is it Kiss the Band?
Yeah, I originally thought of that. I'm just thinking this could be a narrative story of like a lifeguard who goes to save this
child,
kid.
Maybe, yep.
Yeah.
And fails.
And fails. Like didn't get to the kid in time, couldn't resuscitate.
Okay.
And just go down like a sad sort of story.
Yeah, we're going to serious route here.
Yeah. I know that's where, a good version, if it's good to fail the kiss of life, but it's a more acceptable version.
Yeah. Okay. I can see this because there's the opportunity in a game to have quite a powerful experience of, like, if you are literally making the player go through some of the motions of resuscitation and it becoming clear that this is failing. Like the opening scene is you are a lifesaver, a lifeguard, and, a kid is brought, you have to go and save a kid who's obviously drowning and attempt to resuscitate and fail at it. Like that could be pretty devastating to a player.
Yeah.
And I like that in the sense of it's an emotionally gripping, sensation and a way to start a game off. And then that's literally the start. And now it's, how is this person dealing with it?
So do you go down the route of you're playing like the parent is also the lifeguard sort of thing?
I think it's cleaner if it's not necessarily someone they even know.
Your kid.
Yeah.
That it's
because then you actually have to deal with them dealing with the parents of this child. And I said dealing with, but I just mean like their relationship with the parents of this child, and in a situation like that, I feel like that could go in a variety of different ways depending on, the parents and how they accept the death of their child, which is obviously horrific.
Yeah. So I'm just picturing like maybe the first thing that happens in the game is that, sort of like a heavy rain-esque, you go through the motions of getting your breakfast ready and, you go walk the dog, then you come back, you go off to work. It's like any regular sort of day.
Yeah.
And you're at the pool.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think yes. I don't know if you need to sort of go through the whole morning routine, but I think you definitely want to set the scene of this is a regular day. And so maybe it starts with them at the pool, but it's kind of, they go through, you do some of those actions of like get into your swim gear and, get your clipboard or whatever and find out what section of the, what your, what you rostered on for, and it's very much, this is just your job. It's day to day. You have a bit of conversation with people. There's a bit of banter with, your boss or some of the regulars at the pool or something. You climb up into your big high lifeguard chair, and you've got a few little scenes where people do come over and like say hi, and but then
you see some kids that are running around on the edge of the pool, and so you've got to sort of call them out for
you've got to blow your whistle
a
few times, and then I wonder if
you've got basically two scenes that sort of occur simultaneously, or
maybe. And you have to choose, and it's not obvious that either of them are life-threatening. And you can even branch it here. Like, obviously you need the game to go in a particular direction, but whichever one you don't choose ends up with you having to attempt to resuscitate someone. But, that could be another way to really, honestly, fuck with the player because they feel like they've made the wrong choice.
Yeah, and then if they replay it and they choose the other one, because I think you've got basically two lifeguards that they each dive in to save a kid. The one that isn't you, so the lifeguard that isn't you, saves the kid.
Yeah,
and you aren't able to resuscitate yours.
You don't get to them in time.
Well, maybe you can actually have, depending on which one you actually happen to choose. So on the second playthrough, you choose the other one, and you happen to be able to resuscitate the kid. So you can have that two sort of story thing happening.
Perhaps. I guess where does the game go
as the
then?
Hero. Yeah. One person being seen as the hero, and the other person going into maybe a depression spiral sort of thing.
Maybe. I just feel like you're going to end up having to write two complete stories. Whereas what I was thinking maybe just the two situations are a bit different. Maybe one kid kind of accidentally gets shoved and whacks their head on the side of the pool and is sort of, drifting under and he's under too long. But the other one is, I don't know, it's a bit less obvious or something. It's, I don't know, they go down the water slide and just don't come up. Like there's no kind of kerfuffle around it. And it's not until someone yells out, "Hey, this kid's drowned. Like this kid's not coming up. They're floating under the water," kind of thing, that you get notified of it. But it just so happens that the notification of that and the other kid hitting their head happen at the same time. And so either way, because of the head hit, like that actually perhaps causes the death. Like, so there's a bit of difference there of, maybe even how the parents react. Like, the kid who's hit his head, that's obviously more of a freak accident versus the lifeguard maybe didn't notice on time that this kid was under the water. You know what I mean? And either way, really, it's not the lifeguard's fault as such, because they can't be watching every kid. And again, maybe maybe this kid had a seizure or something, right? It's just not as obvious. And that could kind of be the way it branches.
What I do like is the two kids, like they're ones that you actually, as a lifeguard, you've actually yelled at earlier.
Yeah.
So for horsing around, the kid who's running around and running on the side of the pool, they're the one that actually slips and busts their head open and slips into the water. And the other one, I think, was involved in some horseplay or something like that. Like in the water.
He's maybe obviously not as willing a participant kind of thing. Like they're not as confident in the water and that sort of thing. And I like that idea. And then the branching is around just whenever you're dealing with the parents, like that can go slightly differently and it affects things in slightly different ways. Because I feel like one parent would perhaps blame the lifeguard a bit more.
Yeah, I'm seeing that, we have to sort of take it down into a therapy sort of route and
well, look, I think it could be a really interesting exploration of trauma and of depression and of guilt, and how that plays out in a situation like that. It's not going to be a fun game to play, but it could be a good story to.
If you look at games like what was it, that Dragon Cancer? Or
no, there's precedent for sure. Like I think it would be a good candidate, and again with the whole kind of you feel in control as a gamer. And that you are personally the one who has sort of failed to do this, that's quite powerful.
But just the idea of being able to sort of look into, life does unfortunately have to go on, and this, just doing your regular everyday tasks now seem, a totally different type of chore to do.
Yeah,
and to work through, and
that could be a really interesting thing. And I mean, to be honest, because
that's actually why I wanted to go through the going through the motions and at the start of the game to then show how different the going through the motions are.
That's a good point. Because
next time,
that could definitely be an interesting thing, or interesting exploration of depression there. Although, having said that, I feel like bringing the depression on as a result of trauma like that is almost a cop out, because it could actually be more interesting to do a game like that where it's just a regular person who has depression, and how that affects them every day. But
the person actually had depression when it first started, and it's not. This isn't the cause of the depression.
Right.
This is
more just that's another thing they're dealing with, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we're pretty much all dealing with depression nowadays.
I mean, look, it is very common, and a lot of us do struggle with it, and know the sort of the way that it can affect your brain. But I do like the idea of trying to do that then because then even before the event happens, that could be an interesting exploration just of how, okay, this person is depressed. It is actually an effort for them to get through some of their morning routines and things. But then once they get into work, like, there's no sign of it's not obvious to the other people around them necessarily.
Yeah.
And so you could even provide a bit of a sort of internal monologue there, and obviously through the mechanics of, actually making it a struggle to get out of bed, mechanically.
It's one of the hardest quick time events.
One of the hardest. You have to really fucking hammer on that fucking X button or whatever to.
Yeah, it's like test your might, but like the hardest level of fucking test your might.
Oh, I actually really love that idea of quick time events and gameplay mechanics to do everyday things while dealing with mental illness. Like that. That's really interesting. Yeah, I was going to say that's cool. It's not. It's it's horrifying and sad and tragic. But no, I like some of the ideas there and what you could do with them for sure. That's
okay.
Cool.
So we can't end on that because that's not a fun one.
Yeah,
to
we're a
end
bit
on.
over.
So
But let's do
3, 2, 1, click.
Let's do a quick one and dial.
Belonging
And dial. Okay, so dial immediately made me think of like a rotary phone.
Yeah,
which obviously today's kids have no idea about.
So I'm picturing that this is set in the 80s, because when I think rotary phone, I think Melbourne in the 1980s.
Just because you were living there and that you had a rotary phone, yeah.
Yes. So this is pre the 8-digit numbers even. So it's 7-digit numbers.
Digits?
So it's early 80s.
Is this
Ghostbusters has just come out?
Okay. This is getting very specific. I like it. Yep.
Yeah, it's like 1984, set in Melbourne, and it's like a coming of age story about a kid who's just moved to town and is trying to feel like he belongs.
Yeah. All right, I like that. Suburban Melbourne.
Yeah. Outer eastern suburbs.
Yeah, funny that. Okay, and
so the dandy donks.
What's the prefix? The first 3 digits.
725.
There you go. Okay,
like Croydon.
Okay. So how much of this game revolves, pun not intended, around the rotary phone? Like, is this a game that's kind of played through phone conversations, or is that just an aspect of it? Because obviously that is a big aspect of, what age are we saying? Like 12, 13 kind of thing? Like
12, 13
early teens.
in the 1980s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sort of like just moved to the area, first year of high school.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of Stranger Things vibe of the age of the kids and the time period.
What I like about that time period is it brings up a lot of memories about how like going over to a friend's place would actually really work. That, you know, you'd ring up, you'd organize to go over, and then your parents just would let you out and would not be able to find out where you were until you came home, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas
the lack of communication there.
Yeah.
They could presumably call the kids' parents, but if you for whatever reason weren't actually at that friend's house anymore because you and some other friends had gone somewhere else, it could be that nobody knows where you are.
But yeah, going back to the whole sense of belonging. Like, I don't know about you in year 7, but it was a scary time. Like,
yeah,
there's only certain friends that you sort of knew going from primary school to high school. Like, I know that from my primary school, I only had like 2 really good friends that came along with me to the high school that I chose.
I had 2 people that I knew and 1 who I was actually like good friends with.
Yeah, I was lucky that I ended up in the same class as these people, but not everyone was so lucky. Like, there was probably about another 5 people that I know went to my primary school, but that's about it. Yeah,
well, and I think so. I think for the purposes of this game, though, like, I don't think this kid knows anyone right away.
No, yeah, I'm seeing that it's basically like a,
they moved from a different state,
not necessarily a year in the life sort of thing, but it's like just a snippet of life that it's almost like a visual novel of this kid making some friends.
Yeah, I think you get some days here and there. You get different, so like the game starts and it's like you're new to school. I don't know. Maybe the game starts and you're like out the front of your class having to, talk about yourself. Like that's literally the opening scene of the game is like voiceover, the teacher saying, okay, like tell us a little bit about yourself and where you came from. And then, you sort of get the fade in from black and the camera looking up at all these kids in front of you, just like looking expectantly at you, like it's a first person view.
Yeah. And
you've got like dialogue trees,
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that idea.
Yeah. And then, then you sort of, you have like a scene play out at the lunch table, and then you have a scene play out at home, sitting on the stool next to the rotary phone that's in the living room.
Yeah.
As you're, maybe calling a new friend you met, or while at the same time there's a conversation between, your sister and your dad going on in front of you kind of thing.
Now, older sister or younger sister? I grew up with a younger sister. You grew up with younger sisters.
Yeah, look, it could be interesting to have it as an older sister and get the parallel of them going through a similar thing, but like in late high school.
Yeah, they're in like year 12 or something like that.
Yeah, and I don't know whether they're more confident and popular or if they're having even more trouble than you. Like, you could take it in both directions and have some interesting conversations there for them to play off each other. But yeah, I like that in general.
Yeah, I just like, I really like it when there's a story just in a moment of time, and it's kind of
and
like,
look, the environment artists will have a fucking field day, because I feel like doing that sort of period piece in a video game, with all the props and the lights and the wallpapers and the I don't know, just the way it's all built could be quite
field
interesting.
Day, basically.
Yeah, they'd have a good time with it. Or maybe it would suck. I don't know. I've never been an environment artist, but I feel like there's an interesting challenge there.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of it all sort of, the friendship sort of hinges around like the mutual love of this new blockbuster film that just came out.
Ghostbusters. Is that what you're going for?
Well, it doesn't have to be Ghostbusters, but
yeah,
you can just say, want to go see this blockbuster film from this weekend, and that's what the sort of friendship hinges on at the end of this visual novel, interactive fiction.
It's Labyrinth, and you're really both into David Bowie. the end of the near the end of the game, you do a little sing along over the phone to Dance Magic Dance, whatever it is.
We're not doing the
The hoodoo
You
voodoo.
remind me of the babe.
No, we've already done that.
I know.
All right. I like that a lot. I think I like those little, I like those little snippet in time narrative kind of things. That's it's a lot of fun.
Very cool.
All right. Well, I think we shall end it there for this episode of Bitstorm. Thank you all for joining us once again. If you would like to find us and our other episodes and some of the other things that we occasionally do, like YouTube videos and stuff, online, you can find us at podchaser.com/bitstorm, or you can also find us at 8bit.net/bitstorm, because we are part of the 8-Bit Collective, a group of like-minded podcasters who, podcast about stuff and do it in a collective. It's fun. It's good. Check them out.
Go search Facebook for the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. They're an awesome group of people, like-minded individuals, basically trying to help each other out and just talk about our favourite games. They're also found on Twitter, #AGPN or at the AGP Network. Finally, we'd like to thank Kuradust for the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
Yeah! So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And I'm a one-eyed, one-horn flag people eater.